Hi guys, welcome back. And this time around, I'm bringing you one of those old KZ affairs. You guys that have followed me for a while know that once in a while I like doing these mega reviews with all KZ products instead of just doing them all individually. And this time around, I'm bringing you almost all of the KZs that I have of the newest ones. I'm not going to be reviewing the Gala. I'm not going to be reviewing the Pisces. Not that they are bad IEMs per se, but I just feel that compared to the other ones that I've got here and that they also released, um, you know, I don't know, they fell a little bit short in my opinion. Nevertheless, if you guys do want me to review the Gala and the Pisces, I'll do it. I'll make a concerted effort to do it. What I do have here to review of the newer ones that I have is the KZ ZS12 Pro 2, the Dwanic, and the Duet. I have here, accompanying those three, which are the new ones, I've got here the selection of the best IEMs that I feel KZ launched this year. On the top there, I've got the Saga on the balanced version. Underneath that, the reference, in my opinion, for all of KZs, which is the Zenith. Both of these single DDs. Over here I've got the ZS12 Pro X, so the previous version to the Pro 2, and then I've got here the KZ AM16. I've got here just the base, but I've also got the balanced, and I used both of them for this review. Next to that I've got here the Duet, the D set, which is a 5 dynamic driver IEM that they launched this year. And underneath that, I've got two of the more popular ones, the Caster Pro and the Vader Pro. One of the commonalities here, obviously, except for the AM16, is that they are all using, or the majority of them are using, the super linear driver in a 10mm fashion, except here for the the ZS12 Pro X already has the super linear driver. So ZS12 Pro X has the super linear driver. The ZX12 Pro 2 also has the super linear driver. These are both 1+5s. The biggest difference here has been a slight change in the tuning and the fact that the Pro 2 is halted as a gaming AM because of this inline DSP dongle that it brings, which, it's got different tuning modes, let's put it that way. The Saga and the Zenith, like I said, are single DDs using that super linear driver. The Duet is using the super linear driver as well as a second 8mm high performance driver. I'm not sure if that's the same as on the D set. The D set is using 6mm and 8mm, not of the super linear family. The Dwanic is using an 8mm super linear driver and an 8mm developed planar, in-house developed planar driver, which is a novelty for them, as well as the 8mm super linear. That was also a novelty. So these two drivers being used are a new addition to the KZ driver, let's say, creation. And then here on the Caster Pro we've got two super linear drivers. On the Vader Pro we've got one super linear driver and two 8mm of, I believe, the same family as the 8mm that are used here in the D set. So the majority of them are using this newer generation of drivers from KZ, and that obviously is noticeable in the performance. Okay, let me start. I'm going to start off here with the ZS12 Pro 2. In terms of the hardware, it's the same as the Pro X. A 10mm dynamic driver, 4 31736s for the treble, and a 30019 for mids and treble. I'll be very honest with you, and I'm going to be straight to the point without any cutting around or anything of the sort. As I mentioned right at the beginning of the review, my reference in terms of sound is the Zenith. The Zenith, and to a certain extent as well, the Saga, and you could also even add to this equation here, or to this trio, we could add the ZVX Pro. They all have a very similar tuning. Okay, the more balanced one of the three is the Zenith, just because of that lower bass level that it has, and as well it offers those tuning switches which can potentially tailor the sound a little bit more for for the individual that's using it. Personally, I've got it in the all switches up position. That's how I feel it sounds the best. That's how I feel that it makes sense, in my opinion. The Saga has got a little bit more bass in terms of the mids, and treble. There's a certain amount of similarity in the sound. There isn't big differences. I'm just trying to hear quickly, where is it? Yeah, here we go. My apologies, I'm just trying to open here the graphs so I don't just talk without knowing what I'm saying. So yeah, exactly, 7 is the Saga, 8 is the ZVX, and 13 is the Zenith. Okay, so the difference, and I don't have yet the ZVX because I just thought it didn't make sense. The ZVX and the Zenith are very similar. The biggest difference being the fact that the ZVX is just being tuned with more bass and it's more pronounced and below 100 hertz. But anyway, the difference that we find in those three is that bass level. In essence, it's the bass level. The Saga has got a slightly more delayed mids, and the pin again peaks at about 3K, while the others peak before at around 2.4, 2.5. Okay, that's the difference there. But anyway, when I get to the graphs, I'll be able to show it to you guys, and you'll see what I mean. So having this as my reference sound, as what they ideally the rest should try and approximate their performance, and I mean, obviously you guys might say, oh, but Tony, that's not exactly being very fair, and so on and so forth. Well, if we look at the whole of the KZ's products, in the last 2 years, there is always a very concerted effort to make the tuning, the frequency response, to be very similar. Various versions of a Harman tune, basically, and then the way that tuning is obtained is either with a single DD, 2 DDs, 3 DDs, with BAs, whatever. So it's then the usage of the different driver configurations which is going to then change the tonality, the musicality, the technicalities of the IEMs. And when I listened to the ZS12 Pro 2 at lower volume, I mean, okay, fine, I could immediately see that there was a lot of detail up top and so on and so forth. But the moment I just increased the volume just a little bit, that whole scaling effect just went down the hill. And it didn't matter whether I was using the DSP, provided DSP cable, or then I used a separate cable. It always was there. And when even comparing it with the 12X, with the 12 Pro X, which is its closest brother, let's put it that way, the 12X, in my opinion, just sounds better. Fair enough. And again, I'm going to say, okay, so this one is tailored for gaming purposes, and that's why they've emphasized that 3, 4, 5, 6 kilohertz area with more energy to make things such as positioning and footsteps and other gaming related things more precise. That's all good and fine and perfect. And if it's for gaming only that you're going to be using the ZS12 Pro 2, fine, I can make an argument for it. But I still think and I feel that irrespective of it being tailored to, being a gaming IEM, one of two things that could have been made. One, either provide switches to adjust the sound slightly like we can do here on the ZS12 Pro X, or then make the DSP be tunable. And I'm sure KZ is probably thinking about it, or already probably working on it, because with having a DSP that you just basically change the settings by clicking here on the switch. Where is it? But you click at the end and the color changes, and you know exactly then what setting you have. okay, that's interesting. It's better than nothing, but still, in our days and age, and with so much competition, when we have the likes like I just mentioned in the previous review of the nice HK, the tiers with that phenomenal app and that DSP that it's got. I mean, guys, come on, let's keep up with the competition. Let's not go back. And after all, this is $60, 62 with the DSP. Okay, it's not a lot of money if you consider it's a hybrid, and it's a six dynamic driver driver hybrid with the 5 BAs and the dynamic driver and all that. Fine, okay, but still, KZ, because of the fact that they have now gotten us used to this consistent level of products, which is very nice in my opinion, honestly, very, very nice. I was expecting a little bit more from the Pro2 X, sorry, from the ZS12 Pro 2. So bass, it's a bass which is very similar to the Zenith. It's a clean, detailed bass, loads of, the mids are phenomenal, clean, everything. It's just when you start pushing the volume that it just all goes downhill. It doesn't scale as well as the Zenith scales. It doesn't scale as well as the ZS12 Pro X scales. Actually, these two, I would go as far as saying that the ZX12 Pro X is, let's say, a very close version of the Zenith in a hybrid format. Very, very close. The similarity is really well done. Honestly, really, really, really well done. Let me just, yeah, exactly. It is a very similar overall sound to the Zenith, with that extra little BA presence that's noticeable. You can pick up on it, but it's very elegantly done, very nicely done, very musical, very musical. The Pro 2, nice sounding IEM at lower volumes, and if used for gaming purposes, which I've actually been doing a little bit of gaming lately, which is something which is unheard of for me. But as a musical or as a music oriented IEM, honestly, like I said before, I was expecting a little bit more. Okay, so that's that out of the way. I mean, it is what it is. Okay, we can actually take this one also out here. Now let's talk Duet. It's got this this form factor, which is that side firing in-ear or semi in-ear. Then it brings this this attachment which you can make it into a more IEM style. It's got the other silicone, which is this one here. Okay. And I have to say that again, what are my critiques? I would have liked the cable to have been, detachable, for you to put a better cable into it, especially when you consider that they've actually gone to such an effort of putting 2 drivers in there that are really good and doing some work in terms of the tuning. Or then have it with DSP that they now have. I don't believe it's yet available. I don't know if they're going to do it, but anyway, in terms of sound, without this this silicone termination, with the normal one, where the in-ear sits semi in-ear, semi out in the ear canal, yes, you do notice that the bass is not on the same level. And it sounds fine. It actually holds on to my ears. It held onto my ears pretty decently, but I'm not a big fan of that format of earphones. So I used this other second silicone adapter that they have, which makes it like an IEM. And in this format, I have to say that I was really impressed. Obviously, we're not going to be talking about here, oh, it's got these open, clean mids which are phenomenal and this and that. No, I mean that's not what the Duet is about. The Duet is about, let me just get it here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where did I place it? Come on. Yes, number 14. There we go. The Duet is all about having this huge big bass, which in an open format or in a semi-open format like this is, it's welcome. So and I think that's where they the merit is. The way that the mids and upper mids and treble and the whole rest of the frequency range is done, I think it's fine. It's you know, it's well done. It doesn't shout. It scales really well. Actually, this at higher volumes, it comes alive in a manner which makes it sound more balanced. At lower volumes, the bass is overpowering, obviously because of the fact that that it you know, of the fitment style that it has. But I have to say that I was really impressed. I mean, I was more impressed with this than I was with the Pro 2. Let's put it that way. With all the let's say the negative aspects that you have from this excessive bass, and if you want to have some sort of balance, you have to really crank up the volume. I still feel that this was overall a more entertaining and a more exciting IEM to listen to music. Obviously, in terms of gaming, no, it doesn't fit the bill as well. The Pro 2 will do it, but if you're going to use it in a, you know, in a noisy environment where you need to have bass to overcome all that noise, but you still want to have decent quality mids and so on and so forth, and you're not listening or not looking for the ultimate in terms of, you know, clarity and detail and vocal performance and so on and so forth, definitely the Duet is going to impress you. I mean, if $20-something this thing costs, and I've seen it lower than that, you can't complain. Honestly, you can't. I hope they will do the an exchangeable or you know, a version where the cable is adjustable, and maybe a version when they do have a more evolved DSP available that you can then adjust it. Because if this had exchangeable cable, I would have tried the Nice HK Tiers DSP on this thing. You can be sure I would have, definitely, because it's got the hardware to extract a lot more performance from it. Okay, so definitely a very pleasant surprise. Big bass, it's a lot of fun. You know, warm tonality, really nice, really nice. At higher volumes, it definitely does sound the part, does balance it out a little bit more, and it doesn't really show any signs of strain or anything of the sort. Even though it's got this big bass, you can really crank it up, and it's no problems. So that's this out of the way. And that then leaves us here with the Dwanic. The Dwanic is, as I mentioned, the usage or the introduction of two new drivers from KZ, an 8mm super linear driver, and at that 8mm planar driver with a triple magnet setup apparently, and it's got the exchangeable, you know, the tunable switches. It's also got that DSP adjustable cable. Well, it's the same as this one, yeah, basically. I don't know where he is now, but anyway, that's not important. And again, I have to be very honest. I tried it with the cable, I tried it without the cable, and I ended up opting without the cable, and I ended up opting with the 1100 position and with these liqueur tips. The KZ star tips actually usually, you know, work pretty good. You guys know that's the case, and I've said it myself. But in this particular case, I found that the liqueurs just, you know, were the best. Now, sonically, and there's also talk that the Dwanic is also somehow a gaming IEM. The Dwanic, in terms of sound, incredible, honestly. You know, to cut a long story short, incredible sounding IEM. It's got the bass, contrary to what you know, some people say that the bass is monstrous and this and that and whatever, blah blah blah. No, the bass is not monstrous. What it does have is a very high quality bass, and obviously that's a testament to the 8mm super linear driver. When comparing the bass and the quantity of bass with the Zenith, for the most part it's very similar, but you can feel that the Zenith has got a little bit more quantity, which, you know, makes me say, or leads me to say, that I would like to see another IEM, and I'm sure we will be seeing another IEM using this this planar driver, but then using a 10mm or then two dual 8mm of the super linear fashion, so something like along the lines of the Vader, but you know, using these new drivers. I think we will definitely, if we do get something like that from KZ, that could be promising. That definitely could be promising. Two 8mm drivers handling the, you know, the lowest frequencies, and then that planar doing the top end, having a DSP which is adjustable. you know what, this would be a giant killer as it stands. Really nice IEM, honestly, for the $20 roughly that it costs. Like as I was saying, the bass is really good, keeps up really nicely with the Zenith bass. In terms of the clarity of the mids and the highs and so on, very clean, very detailed. You do notice that planar tonality. It's undeniable. It's a tonality and a timbre that you either like or you dislike. That's also a reality. I feel that for the most part, if you choose your source carefully, if you choose your tips carefully, it's never a problem. It's a tonality and a timbre which can be at times a little bit colored because of that typical, timbre that planars have, much like BAs also have. So it's something that you either like or you don't like. And when it's badly done, be it a planar or be it a BA, it screams, it shouts, it's not polished. When it's properly done, then it's although intense, although very energetic, very detailed, it doesn't reach the point of being fatiguing or aggressive or anything of the sort. And that's the case here with the Dwanic. I mean, I have to take my hats off here with the Duonic 2KZ. They really, once again, impressed me and surpassed my expectations. The truth must be said. That's the reality. KZ has gone through ups and downs. It's been loved. It's been hated. It gets, in my opinion, more hate than what it does, than what is really the not the deserved, but the need for. They are definitely trailblazers in the sense that they are out there trying to innovate always and try to do something new, trying to offer those configurations that you see in these other high-end IEMs or more expensive IEMs at a budget price to cater for those people that don't have the money, they cannot afford. They do it all. I mean, guys, let's be honest, they do it all. They really do their best. And when you listen to something like this, you see that it's pretty impressive that for under $20 they can offer something that sonically is so correct. As I was saying, bass is good, mids clean, detailed, if anything just overly colored at times, but if you choose your tips, your source, it's not going to be a problem. It's not going to be an issue, in my opinion. Comparatively to the Zenith, which is my reference, bass is very similar. It's just the mids and the highs here that, yes, they are more detailed than in the Zenith, but let's say the natural end of the sound, how natural, which is the one that has the more organic, the more presentation, definitely the Zenith is the one that has. This does a really good job if you consider it's a planar, and most planars, unless you really start going up for something which is significantly more expensive, don't do it as well. If I have to just briefly compare this to the PRX, for example, the PRX is a really good planar from KZ. It's pretty impressive how they were able to offer that sort of performance for the price they did. But then again, this is a testament of them evolving, because the PRX is the culmination of the various versions that they had over the course of about 2 years to have their own in-house developed planar driver and make it sound really good. And the PRX is that. The driver being used here in the Dwanic, I feel, is an upgrade over that driver, and I'm curious to see if they will make a bigger driver, let's say a 13 or a 14 millimeter driver, and launch a new successor to the PR line of planar drivers from PR planar IEMs from KZ. It would be interesting. So overall, what I can say about the Dwanic is they hit the head on the nail, in my opinion. They hit the nail on the head, in my opinion. Great IEM in terms of its technical capabilities as well. Detail retrieval is phenomenal. I would say detail retrieval, soundstage, and imaging are definitely the ones that stand out. The timbre and tonality is good, but it's just overly emphasized for my particular taste, mind you. But honestly, I cannot but praise the Duonic. Really nice IEM. Well done, KZ. Well done. As for the rest, as I mentioned, I decided to just briefly talk about them quickly, because these are the IEMs that I feel are the ones that really stood out this year from KZ. the Saga was launched already towards the end of 2024, so it wouldn't be fair to have it here. But this was launched this in 2025. So the Zenith is, I think, the culmination of all that KZ has done over the years when it comes to single DDs, and it is a really really good IM. The build quality, the fact that you have those switches like I mentioned earlier, it's using a really good driver with no fancy diaphragms, no nothing. You know, I think if you are going to falter at anything, is maybe those switches could have been just slightly more adjustable, just to give it a little bit more bass for those that wanted a little bit more bass. But when I take the Zenith, you know, and I compare it, for example, to the likes of the nice HCK, the Tears, or even the Venture Electronics, the UA, the Guangxi, or even the likes of the Puller Unicron or the Intuit or the Impact, you know, I have to say that yes, it holds its own. It deserves all the hype that it got. It deserves all the praise that it got from several people. The Zenith is a solid IM, and if this didn't say KZA, if it said here Moondrop Zenith, for example, I am positive, I am absolutely positive that this could have a price tag 3 times the amount that it has, and people would be buying it and praising it and saying that it's good and so on. So all I can, you know, what I can say in a nutshell about the KZ Zenith, phenomenal IM, really really good. It holds its own against much more expensive IMs. It holds its own against all of the IMs priced at similar values. It's a solid IM. As for the Vader Pro, the Caster Pro, and the D-set, these are very similar. 2 drivers, 3 drivers, 5 drivers, very similar. The D-set's got probably the one that's got, I wouldn't say the most bass, but it's got the warmest. You know what? It's not even fair for me to say that it's got the sorry, excuse me, the warmest sound. It's the one that tries to sound the biggest. I think it's probably the best way of putting it. I think that if maybe they had used slightly better tuning in the mids and the highs, they could have made the sound at that part of the spectrum be a little bit more polished. But having said all that, and this is not a criticism in any way, what I am going to admit, and I have to say it again, is that they did a phenomenal job. Period. They did a really good job. You know, it's let me give me 1 second here. So Caster Pro, Vader, and Caster Pro, Vader. No, Caster Pro. My apologies, guys. Caster Pro D-set, and then the Vader. Yeah, exactly. You know, although, and when I show you the graphs, you'll see what I mean. Although from, let's say, 300 hertz up, the 3 of them share a very similar style of tuning. The fact that one is using 2 drivers to do that frequency range above, the other one is using a single driver, and the other one is using, I'm going to say 3, perhaps maybe even 4 drivers. It conveys that difference in terms of the tonality, of timbre, of coloredness to the sound, of musicality to the sound. And I feel that what holds back the D-set is those 6mm drivers. If maybe those 6mm drivers were of the super linear family, or maybe they would have, I don't know, that's where I think this is being held back. And I've got a gut feeling that they will be coming out with something that's going to be an improvement over this somehow. I seriously do. You know, the D-set, in my opinion, still has done enough. And when you consider that you can pick this up now for like under $30, guys, under $30, a 5 dynamic driver IM that sounds this good, come on. You know, it's good. The Caster Pro is the one that's got the biggest bass to a certain extent out of all of them, because it's got those 2 10mm drivers, and I'm sure both of them are to a certain extent working the bass frequencies. Maybe one obviously more so than the other. And while there you got the 2.8s, yes, but this super linear driver is a phenomenal driver. That's the reality. It sounds really good. It's musical. It's engaging. It's a phenomenal IEM for the value that it costs, for the price that it costs. I mean, it's another winner. The Vader Pro is the one that's the most musical, and it's the one, but for that reason, approximates itself the most to, again, the Zenith. When I compare it to the Zenith, it's got the same sort of overall balance of sound. A little bit more higher frequency than on the Zenith, yes, but overall you listen to it, you listen to the Vader Pro, you listen to the Zenith, and you listen to the ZS12 Pro X, and these three IEMs, definitely, these three IEMs, they are the ones that share the most commonality between all of the IEMs from KZ, and they are I think, in my opinion, the best embodiment of the different types of configurations: single DD, hybrid, and a triple dynamic driver. The Duonic, and the reason why I've still left the Duonic here is the Duonic does do a job of coming really close to the sound of the Zenith. And I guess if I want to be totally fair, I can also include it, but I feel that because of that extra brightness that it has at the top end, it is so much noticeable compared to the other three, that it just kind of is on the, let's say, the far right of that commonality. Okay, if this is the center, these two approximate themselves more to the center. This one maybe a little bit to the left of the sound of the Zenith. This one is far right to the sound of the Zenith. But if I have to be really fair, these four are very, very similar, and you can say that they are, like I mentioned just before a few minutes ago, that they are the examples of what the KZ, let's say, house sound is, and how the Zephyr is its reference, for me at least, and how they do that reference in different configurations. Finally, I've got here the AM16, which is an 8 BA affair from KZ. There's two versions of it, the base version and the balanced version. And as I alluded to when I did the review for them, this again is another phenomenal IEM. Okay, phenomenal. Be it the balanced or be it the bass. Fair enough, the bass has got a lot of bass. Maybe it will sound a little bit too dark for some guys. Get the balanced. If you want a properly tuned, balanced, all balanced armature IEM, and you don't want to spend, or you cannot spend a fortune, and you want something that's really going to be impressive overall, definitely the AM16 is the one that ticks the boxes. There's nothing out there that even comes close to it. Nothing. For you to get something which starts really making sense, okay, and you say, okay, this is a solid option that makes sense over, you have to start spending closer to $200. You could say, or I could say, yes, the AudioSense, the DT600 or the DT300 are two options, yes, without a doubt. The question here is finding them. Sometimes they're available, sometimes they're not available, but still we're talking 120, 130 plus more over they usually go for, I've seen the DT300 at 120, I've seen the DT600 at 160, compared to $40, $45, whatever. They still are significantly more expensive. So the AM16, definitely the most impressive all BA IEM that you can find under the $100 price bracket, without a doubt, and under $200 even, I would say it would hold its own. In terms of the sound, obviously the bass version has got a lot more bass, not as balanced as the balanced version is. The good thing about it is the following: the bass version does, to a certain extent, take care of again, that timbre, that tonality that we get from BAs, and having more bass tuned into it, it does fix that tonality problem nicely. It does do away with a lot of that I'm not even going to say it's sheen, it's just that BA timbre, okay? so it does do a better job in that aspect. But on the other hand, the bass version of the AM16, if you wanted to sound a little bit more open and not so overly, let's say, thick, you just have to crank up the volume a little bit more, and trust me, it comes alive when you really push the volume, and it really comes alive. There were times on the bass version that I was kind of questioning myself, is this actually coming from a 22955? Because the amount of bass they're actually getting from that single 22955 is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Again, I would like to see KZ do something along the lines of what they've done here on the AM16, but maybe using two of those bass 22955 drivers, and maybe doing some switches, and maybe just allowing for a little bit more tunability. Okay, you can your reply will be, oh, but you've already got the AS24 and the Symphony and this and that, and fine, but the AM16, I still feel that it could be improved upon. It definitely could be improved upon. And basically that's it, guys. I think that wraps it up. I think KZ had a 2025 which was really productive. They launched countless IEMs, but when it mattered, they delivered. They did the job. And with with specific IEMs like the ones that I mentioned, yeah, the Zenith phenomenal IEM, the AM16s, the Caster Pro and the Vader Pro, the Dwanic now towards the end of the year, the Duet. They launched, in my opinion, way more IEMs that are really, let's say, interesting, solid buys without you having to think too much about it, because the value what they cost is not out of this world. Then the ones that I feel are, and that's where, for example, things like the Pisces and the Gala come into place, because the Pisces, the Gala, when you can pick up this, why would you bother with that? Or when you can pick up a Caster Pro, why would you bother with those other two? And that's it, guys. I hope I was able to shed some light. Like I said, I'm just going to show you now quickly the graphs, and we'll wrap it up. Okay, guys, so let's show now the graphs here for everything. I'm just going to show first the graphs for the ZS12 and get that out of the way. Where is it? ZS12 Pro X. So this was the ZS12 Pro X, and this is now the Pro2 with the DSP cable. And let me just take out, I'm just going to take out the ZS Pro X out, and then I'll get back to it. So that's just with the normal cable on it. But then with the DSP cable, and in the various settings that the DSP cable allows, we get this, and this. So, and let me just quickly remove the one with just the cable. Okay. So as you can see, there's not much difference. Honestly, there isn't much difference. They go from saying that, let me go here. Okay, this is the balanced stock setup, and this is one where you get more enhancement for playing games, and then this is the full power version, and this is the one that has the most bass. Honestly, the one that has the most bass compared to the stock version, I don't see no difference. As for the versions where it's full power, for example, and more gaming orientated, again, I don't see much of a difference. What I do know is, and let me now just take away then these settings here. Okay, what I do know is that the Pro2, yes, I'm guessing that if your intention is to play games only, it will do a good job, because it does have a lot of energy up top there. Compared to the Pro X, the balance that's struck between the Pro X and the Pro2, it's self-explanatory. Although they both have that 100 Hz point corresponding to 2 kilohertz, it's then the amount of energy that you have on the Pro2 which just makes it then not scale as nice. And when you compare that to my reference, which is the Zenith, which is this that I've just placed, you can understand why I said that the Pro X is more similar the Pro 2, yes, is similar to an extent in terms of the lower frequencies and up to about 2, but then it just gets out of hand, yeah, a little bit. Look, guys, it is what it is. That's it, period. Okay, so that's that one. Now, let's fetch here the the Duet, which is this one here. Crazy bass, as you can see. Nicely done the way the mids and upper mids and even the treble and extension, that's more couple related peak than anything else. But really nicely done. Obviously the balance, I mean, if you look at 100 hertz, it completely overpowers. If you are using it in that semi-open format without the in-ear, this does come down quite a bit. I tried to measure it, but obviously, as you can understand, it's a little bit different. But even without measuring, you listen to it with one way and then the other, and you notice the difference in the bass straight away. The reality is this. What KZ has done is, I think, a step in the right direction, and I'm very, very curious to see how they will improve upon this Duet's formula. Finally, the Dwanic. And again, I didn't go, I measured it with all the different settings and so on and so forth. And the only setting that for me makes sense, and let me just make it blue so it stands out, is the setting where it's 1100, which is this setting. Really nicely done, the bass, no bleeding to the mids, really nicely done overall. Although you got this big bump here, it is an 8mm driver, not a 10, but it does sound very similar to the Zenith. And even the way that the mids and upper mids and treble is done, very similar to the Zenith. Yes, way more extension, very noticeable, but this whole area here is very, very much more intense is not the word. It's the Zenith on a little bit of steroids. Let's put it that way. It's clean, it's detailed, it's a lot of fun, it's phenomenal, it's really well done. I just feel that the switches should have allowed for this area to be tamed a little bit more, and or then use a 10mm super linear, because that 10mm super linear tuned in the same fashion. So let's say if they had used, sorry, let's say the Vader Pro. Let's go fetch a Vader Pro. Okay, this is the Vader Pro. If they had used a Vader Pro, which you can again see the Vader Pro has got a lot of similarities to the way that the Zenith is, and you know, a lot of similarities. If they had used the Zenith, the Vader Pro, let me just put the Dwanic, and obviously tuned the driver in the same fashion, I think that the overall balance would have been better, would have been more well obtained, because you can see that the Vader Pro, let me actually just put it here in a different color, let's make it green. You can see that the Vader Pro, it's got basically the same sort of mids gain and upper mids and treble gain, yes, but because we are talking about a dynamic driver and not a planar driver, obviously the timbre and the tonality, it's different. It doesn't sound as intense. Those two drivers handling that part of the frequency range there on the Vader Pro do not sound as intense as that single driver on the Dwanic. And again, let me make this perfectly clear. The Duonic or the Vader Pro, they are both really, really good, very good IEMs. Totally different crowds of people that they will probably be aimed at. One for the more technically orientated, if you, in the case of the Duonic, more for the more musically organic, you know, music is the main thing in the case of the Vader Pro. But the reality is both of them are really good, and both of them can do technicalities, and both of them can be very musical. Anyway, that's the Duonic compared here to the Vader, as you can see, to the Zenith, a lot of similarities. And as for the rest of the IEMs here, let me just quickly show you that trio like I was talking about during the review of the Vader Pro, which is what I just was having now a second ago. Vader Pro, Caster Pro, sorry, not Caster Pro, oh my god, what a blank, the D-set, sorry, and the Caster Pro is, no, where is the Caster? There we go, the Caster. Let me make the Caster red, so there's no, okay, and here is the Caster. And that difference in sound that you get between the three is very easily understandable if you take that 100 hertz point I was talking about. The D-set, when you take that 100 hertz point, it overpowers the rest of the frequency range. But I think it's not, like I was saying, it's difficult to explain, because it's not that it's darker than the caster. No, it just sounds bigger than the caster. Okay, the caster. Let me just here make it like this. If you take that 100 hertz point, you can see that kind of you do have energy there, which on the case of the D-set, that energy is completely overpowered, but it doesn't. This is not entirely what you hear. Okay, but then when you compare it to the Vader, you understand why the Vader is way cleaner, because the Vader corresponds to about 2 kilohertz, give or take, which is roughly what you get in the case of, again, the Zenith. You take the Zenith, it corresponds to 1.8, 1.7, 1.8 kilohertz, but the energy that's there and the energy that's here, they very much match each other. It doesn't shout, it's clean, it's detailed. So you can say that this trio of caster, Vader, and D-set are, it depends what is the ultimate sound that you want. You want audiophile, you go for the Vader Pro. You want, let's say, big bass, you go for the D-set. You want a good compromise with the two, then you go for the Caster Pro. That's that out of the way. And finally, just since we are here, let me just quickly show you the AM16, the bass version. Okay, that's the bass version there. And the balanced, which is, where is the balanced? This one, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Exactly. Let me just make the bass version a little bit different in color so it's more noticeable. Let's make it blue. Let's see if that works. Yeah, there we go. And again, it's like I was saying, if you take again that 100 hertz point there, 100 hertz point on the bass, yes, it kind of does overpower the mids, upper mids, and treble, while on the balanced version it doesn't overpower. You still got plenty of energy, and you notice it's got more detail, more musically correct, if you want to put it that way. But then you do notice easier and quicker that timbre that is associated, that tonality that's associated with BAs. And so when you crank it up, it's more noticeable. On the bass, you crank it up and it actually, honestly, incredible, really nice sounding IEM, very nice sounding. Anyway, guys, I'm dragging myself here now. Hope you enjoyed this. I hope I was able to give a good overall picture of these IEMs, the newer ones, and overall I say top IEMs that KZ launched during last year. And as always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please feel free to ask me, and I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as possible. You take care now. Bye bye.